Hi, my name is Erin Morrow. I am a business student at Roberts Wesleyan, and I'm here today to talk to you about how the federal government views your small business. Just a quick background, in addition to my study for my degree, I also have 15 years of experience starting, scaling up, and running small businesses. So I'm coming from the perspective of the small business owner. So, regardless of politician, on the right or the left, they love to tell us that small business is the backbone of the economy, the backbone of the country. But there are quite a few forces working against the small business owner. Yes, you might be exempt from some of the most cost prohibitive regulations. For example, you are not mandated to provide health insurance for your employees or any type of retirement option. But to be perfectly honest, if you don't do that, you are at a major disadvantage in this particular labor market. Speaking of the labor, let's talk about prices. We have minimum wage increases. We have a very tight labor market, which is driving up the cost of labor just naturally. Inflation increases, and some of that cannot be absorbed by simply raising your prices, right? So that has to come off the top, that has to take away from profits. If you are lucky enough to have made a profit, congratulations. You might be subject to double taxation. So it can really feel like some of the policies at the federal level are designed to work against you. So I am here to tell you that they are. So let's move on. I'll explain what I mean by that. I'm going to touch on some of those realities that I just mentioned. Firstly, what does double taxation mean? This is a little bit not so personal. This is simply a factor of being both the employer and the employee. For example, if you work for an outside employer and you receive your paycheck, there are taxes taken out of it. 7.65% of those taxes are going to go toward Social Security and Disability, unemployment insurance, and Medicaid. What you might not realize is that your employer is also paying 7.65% of that Social Security, Disability, unemployment insurance, and Medicaid tax. So what we often think of as a self-employment tax is going to be that 15%. It's both employer and employee contributions. You might also be familiar with this from the private sector in regard to health insurance. So health insurance premiums can seem to be just astronomical to the small business owner. But a lot of that is because, first of all, you're a pretty small group, but secondly, you are covering both the employer and the employee contribution. Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about, a little bit more personal. I just want to start by saying that I completely understand the literal blood, sweat, and tears that it goes into to really get that small business up and going and profitable, and not to mention the hours of work. And unfortunately, that kind of gets lost in this conversation. Now, we've all been sold this American dream, right? So it does seem like we should be entitled to some of the spoils of our hard work. And you absolutely are, but the economy is not set up for it. What I am going to be saying next is paraphrased from an article called Small Business Activity Does Not Measure Entrepreneurship. The authors are Magnus Henriksson and Tino Sanandaj. And this is I'm just gonna paraphrase here to explain why policymakers favor large businesses over small. So the idea is that we want to create innovation and create jobs. And of all owners who start a small business, only 6% are considered high impact entrepreneurs that go on to achieve this. Now, job creation, they might have us there. 80% of self-employed people do not have employees. But in terms of innovation, one would say that if you are a coffee shop owner, or rather one in the federal government would say, if you're a coffee shop owner, you're not an innovator. Starbucks is the innovator. They're the ones that created all the jobs. You are a replicator. And policymakers also believe you to be a replicator if you're in one of the following fields. Okay, here we go. Construction, landscaping, auto repair, restaurants, transportation, farming, private household work like cooking and cleaning, childcare services, and beauty salons. But wait, there's more. There's also a widespread assumption that smaller firms evade taxes. So policy is set so that it's not putting too many regulations on a firm that wants to grow. They don't want someone to stay small and continue to hide their money. They believe that larger firms do not evade taxes at above average rates. And that's why you're going to hear a lot of talk about deregulation when you're talking about business. They are really talking about those larger businesses that they believe provide these benefits to society. And that is why places like a Walmart or a Home Depot have squeezed out the mom and pops. As far as taxation goes on a federal level, that is preferable. So in conclusion, I would argue, and I might be biased, but I would argue, you should take a look at some of these policies. If every suburb looks exactly the same and everybody has the same 12 stores to shop at, is that really all that innovative? And could one argue that maybe those blood, sweat, and tears and extensive work that you're not getting paid for in the beginning, as well as all of the double taxation, might encourage that tax evasion, and there might be some things to do about that. But that is for another conversation. What we are talking about here really is what the current way of looking at large firms versus small firms is, as far as from a federal level. Not talking about the small level. Counties, cities, towns might have their own reasons for really wanting to bring small businesses on. But if it feels like maybe some policies out there are designed to work against you, this is why. All right, thank you.